care for it warm.
Put that shit over ice, and you're talking straight business.
Right.
Chasing the shot with the beer is low key good.
Let's do it.
Live.
I can't wait to hear the chud raids. Chud raids.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, I'm gonna start mine with the most like lukewarm pacifist take. All right, I'm gonna join on my computer real quick.
Killed my sheep.
Yeah.
This needs to go in
You wanna
monk
kill
history.
this? Okay. Can you bring my charger in? My phone's gonna die soon.
Can you rename the
20.
politics chat Politrix out of respect for
Yeah.
our boy Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide? When it comes to politics and politicians, I call it Politrix, Mr. Worldwide.
This nigga Colton is a loser.
You think I actually listen to Pitbull?
No, I'm just with you.
That is
music. Nah, Pitbull has some bangers, yo. Don't sleep on the early 2000s.
Well, anyone's early 2000s. Fireball.
And it's still a banger, nigga.
All right, so how are we doing it? Are we doing like point and data, or like point and then refuting it and then backing up with data? Okay, so my first point is going to be, I am in overall agreement with the strikes and the targeting of high-value persons and military infrastructure, but I do not like that it feels like this war is being dragged out. I feel like we absolutely could have raped Iran and put in a proxy government in the time. Yeah.
Was that the whole claim?
Well, no, so that's like the point I'm going to make. Or that's the point that I'm making. So, or like the claim.
You're fucking retarded! No, I'm just kidding.
So, yeah, I'm in agreement with the strikes and targeting of high-value person/military infrastructure, but I do not like how it feels like the war is being dragged out. Okay, so first off, the Strait of Hormuz. Iran sits on the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is a very crucial point in the world, and I think it would be great for U.S. influence to be there, and Iran is arguably the most anti-USA government in the world. The Strait of Hormuz is so vital and such a bottleneck that it provides up to 20% of the world's petroleum flow through it each day. While this is all going on, Iran is constantly sponsoring people to attack our ship, both our naval ships as well as commercial ships inside of the Strait of Hormuz. I believe that it is our duty as Americans to stop and cease the production of the enriched uranium, as well as stop them from all of their sponsorship.
Is that it?
Yeah.
So I would counter argue that the Strait of Hormuz was open before the strikes. There was no reason to really causing the strikes. Sort of like closed it up. It was the reason why it sort of closed up in the first place, and why Iran is doing what it's doing now. In order for us to stop the enrichment of uranium, we did have that with the Iran deal. I guess it's not as formally called, but remembering acronyms is not my strong suit. Yeah, the JCPOA. Now, of course, yeah, I'm bringing that up, but the JCPOA did limit its use of enriched uranium while also allowing us to sort of monitor what they were doing at the same time. Pulling out of it just allowed them, and imposing sanctions on them just gave them more of a reason to try to produce more nuclear weapons and further their hatred against us.
Yeah, so I would like to counteract that. I think that yes, there were very obvious sanctions that were put on Iran for their use of uranium and enrichment. I mean, Obama even had the deal in 2015, which allowed them to have enriched uranium for scientific and medical purposes. However, it was under a very strong eye to make sure that they wouldn't further enrich the uranium to the needed 99% for like mass grade weapons. However, Iran has previously conducted covert and clandestine operations to further enrich their uranium. So Iran had the Ahmad project just before 2003. So in late 2002, Iran ran covert military nuclear research initiatives aimed at designing warheads, testing explosives, and integrating warheads, and had also done backdoor drug deals with both China and Pakistan in taking in further uranium as well as missile technology.
But wasn't the Ahmad project like you say like sort of ended at around like the early 2000s though?
Yeah, so it went on in the early like 2002, 2003 timeframe until we found out about it and then had the international congress basically slap them on the wrist and say like, "Hey, you're ceasing from doing that from now on."
Yeah. So we found that out, and about like 2015, we imposed strict guidelines of what they can use with that uranium. If you're arguing that what we imposed on them wasn't going to be enough, and that they could have had covert like operations like the Ahmad project, I can agree with that. But that pulling out of the deal and then just inflicting harsh sanctions on them, I feel what isn't really the appropriate response to that, because that would just encourage them, especially now since when we pulled out of it, they don't really have like a limit that's going to be like looked at. So they're going to be like, whatever, let's just fucking get more uranium towards building nuclear weapons.
Correct, but I mean, just the fact that they had uranium before and still went behind everyone's backs to develop these warheads and testing these possible nuclear weapons that they would like to make in the early 2000s, it kind of foreshadows a possibility of them doing it again. I mean, they even had the Fordo bunkers, which they said were for just enrichment for medical and scientific purposes. The Fordo was built in 2006. However, we knew through Imint and SIGINT that they were conducting enrichment and missile testing around these facilities.
What was that during the JCOP or JCSOP?
I do not know off the top of my head, but I would assume so. I know that Israel does a lot of intelligence gathering on Iran.
Oh. So again, just that's like, I guess pulling out of that is more based on assumptions. Like you shouldn't really do like a sort of hardwired decision like that, especially when we have stuff in play that we know could limit their building of nuclear weapons. Now, if Israel had came and been like, "Hey, we heavily suspect that this is happening," our response should have been like pull out and inflict sanctions. It should have been starting talks with Iran and then maybe threatening sanctions, maybe coming to another deal with them, especially for investigating. And yeah, just like try to smooth it over with more talks. I know it doesn't seem like not much will be done, but in the long term, uh, we would be in a much less like predicament of oil rising and the fucking a lot of our missiles being shot over in Iran and then them threatening us.
I mean, yeah, I would agree with that, but Iran has historically, even before this bombing campaign gone on, well before 2026, even late 2024, I believe it was, they still had those commercial ships running through the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran was actively sponsoring the Houthis, giving them one-way attack UAVs to bomb these ships coming through the Strait of Hormuz.
So 2024, you said like Iran was sponsoring Houthis.
Yes.
Uh, I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna see.
Yeah, it's known as the Red Sea shipping crisis. So the
Red
Houthis put
Sea
a really
crisis.
big halt on global trade, specifically towards the Red Sea and the Strait of Hormuz?
It was like Iran sponsored. Okay. Yeah, this was about 2
To
years ago.
2024, 2025.
Support for the Houthis. Yeah, they've been a key by 2009. Again, I don't think like just straight up attacking and killing their leadership in response was the right deal, especially not going through Congress. Was the right deal because again, that just gives them more cause to hate us and retaliate. And not only that, close the Strait of Hormuz and cause a sort of like global economic halt on oil.
I mean, I don't disagree with you in the sense of like, yes, it is a bad thing to do. There could have been other measures to have been done. But I mean, we've tried for so long to talk things out, make different agreements with them, and they just keep backdooring and keep doing things that we don't do. At some point, like, we had to have done something. And I believe that the strikes were inevitable.
But again, like you said, that those back doors, while they happened in the past, when we're talking about the time frame of, let's say, like 2015 to now, it's mostly alleged.
What do you mean?
Like you said, it was mostly like alleged that they had these facilities that they said were being used for medical research for uranium, but instead were being used to build nuclear sites. You didn't really say that was more concrete. Said it was more
I,
alleged.
Yeah, a lot of it does have to do with Israeli claims, and I know that Israel, isn't, the best guy on listening to for claims of people doing bad things.
I would say at the
Um,
time when they were making it, maybe a bit more because again, they are a country that's surrounded by mostly enemies. So like I can understand like listening to their reports, but at the same time, it would be a much smarter deal to investigate a bit more and confirm it.
I mean, how many times are we going to sit there and investigate Iran and then find out the same things over and over and over again
Well,
and
you
let
got
another Ahmad project happen?
it's got to be concluded though before we do anything because if we just go off based on a hunch, it's just gonna it's gonna make us look bad. It's like like it or not, America has to sort of like be the bigger man in this situation because if we just do retaliations like that and it turns out none of that was happening, well then we're just the aggressor. We're just aggressive. And like they also will give Iran, I guess, more justification, especially in the eyes of like especially other Middle Eastern countries that I'd say are more neutral or maybe pro-Western leaning to be like, oh well, we don't really want to be known as like being good with these guys.
I mean, yeah, I would totally like to keep talking about this, but it does go directly into one of my like total 3 points. So I don't want to
Yeah,
kind of like
I think some of
leave.
it goes to my points too, actually.
Okay, so yeah, that goes into my third claim. So I mean, if you want to kind of go back to the original idea of like the uranium agreement, or move to your point, it's either
Let's
one.
see. I'm in agreement with the strikes and targeting of high value persons, military infrastructure, but I do not like how it feels like it's being dragged out. I agree that I don't like how it feels about drag. And believe it or not, when you say I'm in agreement with the strikes and targeting of high value persons and military infrastructure, done right, I can agree with that. The problem is it didn't really go through Congress. It was sort of just like, oh well, let's just do it instead of just like being like, well, here's why we should do it and how we should do it and have it be agreed upon. Because like it or not, this is a Republican democracy. We sort of we do have to have the branches of government all agree on it.
I mean, we do, but like Congress does have authorizations, like under the amendments, that the U.S. can use military force within a certain amount of time frame without having to make legal doctrine through Congress.
Yeah, that is true, but I feel like that can also be used like exploitatively.
I mean, I don't disagree with it. I mean, honestly, like I don't really feel like it's a bad, and I haven't done too much research on the topic. So I mean, if you don't want to talk about it, because I'm sure you haven't really either. But I also feel like the whole Venezuela thing kind of falls into this scenario too. I believe that it was totally our job to step in with the Venezuela crisis and everything that was going on with Maduro being the president. I am absolutely in agreement 100% with everything that they did with the less than fucking 3 hour operation diving into Caracas and taking Maduro.
I mean, again, I would circle back with that as being I would have liked that to have gone through Congress. Because even then, like with that regime change, I can agree with it. But I also think that sets like a bad precedent that I think the Iran war is the result of.
Yeah.
Because like
I mean, I can see where you're coming from.
yeah.
Do you want to move on to your first claim?
Yeah, we can move on. All right. Send us know when we're ready, Shark.
Do you have, does anybody from the crowd want to jump in and say anything? I guess we could do that in between each point.
Oh, yeah.
I have a question.
What up?
Colton said Republican democracy. Is it Republican democracy or Democratic Republic?
Either or.
Okay,
But
that answers my question. Thank you. Oh no, I'm aware. I was just trying to get my own context there.
it's all good.
Getting anything to eat?
Do you want to?
Yeah. Also, because I
No,
also want to like
gross.
quell any sort of like, we're not a democracy, we're a republic, or fucking
Hey, Gavin,
republic,
sounds like we're
democracy,
dating.
same thing sort of bullshit. You know what I mean? Yes, I got you. So my first claim. My first claim is the Iran war will be detrimental to the worldwide image of the United States. And what I mean by that is mainly just like you got a lot of like European countries that are not really backing this and sort of, if like not outright saying this is terrible, just not giving their support with it. And even with like Arab allies, even the ones that could like support it now will eventually turn sour as like missiles from Iran hit their countries, even if they're hitting US bases.
Okay. Is that your claim? Like that's
Yes.
it?
Yeah, that's my claim. The Iran war will be detrimental to the worldwide image of the United States.
I mean, I would pretty strongly disagree. I feel like just in general among like personnel, the image of the United States already isn't the best. Like just by like people in reside like any country around the world, like they think of the
Yeah.
U.S., they think of just warmongers in general. I don't really think that this harms our image per se. It definitely doesn't make it better in some stances. However, you do see the videos of to hundreds, if not tens of thousands of people in the streets of Iran, like celebrating on our strikes, celebrating the fact that we killed the Ayatollah. I mean, like these are an oppressed group of people, and even people like from their nation are outwardly going out and thanking the United States for this. Only to be massacred and shot in the streets by their own government. I truly do believe that the United States is the world's police force. I believe that we have been that for a while, and we will continue to do that.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like, are you saying like the citizens in Iran are celebrating it?
Yeah, mainly. So
Or like
there
mainly
are a lot
Iranians?
of
Like,
Iranian-born people, both currently in Iran and people who left Iran due to the regime when it changed over in the 70s to the Islamic regime.
Well, I can no doubt like see like the people, especially who have been affected by the regime, celebrating their death overall. But I would say that consistent military strikes could turn that image like over. And not only that, I do disagree when you said earlier that when you said that we this like overall could like sort of make us look a bit. I don't know if that's the exact word that you said because you did say that yes, this could hurt our image a bit more, but overall like it also has Iranian citizens thanking us. uh I'd say continued strikes into Iran could eventually hit civilian targets. I'm not saying that it's going to be a definite, but it has happened. I mean, you obviously bring up the school that was hit by a ballistic missile that killed a bunch of kids, and because that was just like just one thing that happened, like that could eventually, if this drags on, eventually become a more common thing. I mean, you could use examples of Afghanistan, Iraq, even like our strikes in Syria, where they've hit civilian targets. I mean, I also think that they shouldn't be able to wed, but you know, I'm not going to send missiles over there.
I mean, yeah. So, back to that point. So, specifically the school example, as well as just our targeting of strikes in general. I believe that the school example was not a deliberate targeting of the school. I believe it had to do
Oh,
with
yeah.
something with the missile being miswired, or there were GPS jammers in Iran to block the missile from hitting its deliberate target.
Yeah,
So
you could
like,
use that.
huh?
I mean, yeah, I was saying you could use that as an argument.
Yeah, like I definitely don't believe that the school thing was targeted. If it was, I mean, that's a disgusting atrocity to be committed by the U.S. And I feel like it would have blown up a lot more on the media if it was a deliberate targeting of this school. However, Iran and their proxies also do tend to hide out in hospitals, hide out in schools, launch missiles from these buildings. I mean, like, I'm not going to sit here and be thankful of us bombing schools and stuff, but I mean, at some point, you do have to target military forces if, for say, in this school attack, that they were firing from this school. I mean, every single president in recent memory has attacked a hospital or a school or some sort of daycare with this going on. I mean, Obama is like infamously known for bombing hospitals.
Oh yeah, and it's like I'm not going to run defense for him on any of that, but still, it's just like I'd say, like you said, like Iran could have like scrambled the missiles to hit to go away from their targets, or could have been a misfire or like something with the missile. But that doesn't mean it's just going to be that one thing. A lot more of that can happen, especially if Iran is scrambling the missiles, which will make them hit civilian targets. So it'll just like come down to a lot more civilians will end up getting hit. And you don't want that because, again, like you said, Iranians were celebrating U.S. killing the Iranian leadership and the regime, which have been oppressing them. And yes, I get that. I get why they would. But if more U.S. missiles start firing into Iran and then either misfires, miswiring, or Iranians like scrambling them to not hit their targets and hit more civilian targets, again, that image will sour and will cause the Iranians to sort of turn with that image on the US and be like, you know what, we need to get these motherfuckers out of here and maybe cause attacks on us.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to seem like the fucking devil's advocate here, but I mean, unfortunately, civilian casualties are always going to be something that happens in warfare. I mean, it is a trope of human warfare. Like, people die on accident that aren't meant to be the target. But I truthfully believe that like the U.S. isn't deliberately going out there just bombing anything. Like the U.S. isn't bombing oat mills or food production storages or trying to win some sort of like war of attrition over time. We're actively going out and striking radar and satellite facilities, like the Ayatollah hideouts of these high value targets and where they're believed to be, as well as the Hamas, Hezbollah, etc. forces which are supporting Iran in this war. It's not like we're just going in firing willy-nilly and just blowing everything up.
I mean, yeah, no, there is a what's the word I'm looking for? I guess like a sort of plan. I don't know if plan's the right word, but there are targets that we're trying to hit, yes. But at the same time, like with if that were to continue to happen and civilians get hit, again, that's not going to look good on us, especially for our allies, because already we got a bunch of like NATO allies not wanting to give us support for this. They're not agreeing with this, and even then, I think Congress or the Senate or one of the branches of government have just passed a sort of end the strikes because they themselves, people at home, don't even like it. And it's not just, it's also, you guys also think about the American people who are viewing it as well, because that image of yes we should be there is like dwindling even amongst MAGA. They're like, either they're saying it should keep going but it shouldn't cause inflation, which I don't think that's going to really be possible, or they're saying, "Hey, we should just end it now." So there's that too. And so if we like do something that's more aggressive, like again, that just hurts our image because we were supposed to be the sort of peacekeeper like superpower. And while yes, we haven't really been sticking to that image like throughout the years, especially I'd say what arming rebels in South America or arming various rebel groups in other countries to do regime changes, especially like you could say Iran itself back in I believe the 50s. We supported them getting rid of their government and for a more pro-Western government that became authoritarian until eventually 79 when the Iranian Revolution happened, which hardened hearts against the United States.
I mean, yeah, I think this all stems back to my first initial claim of like me as well as a lot of American conservatives, especially the younger American conservatives, are in agreement with the striking of these targets. However, they do feel like the war is being dragged out and everything could have been executed plentiful in time.
Again, that could have been done like through Congress and like through a debate and what we can do, how we can do it, and maybe what and in what timeline and how we can do it within that timeline to ensure that we get these objectives completed, and when we bring Iran to the table, we can properly negotiate with them.
I just don't personally see that happening with Iran. And I honestly feel like that's a really good time to roll into my second claim about the negotiations and what they support.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything they want to say?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Um, I would like to make an argument that
What?
though yes, we are basically the world police at this point. I think it's kind of stupid that we focus more on foreign affairs than we do on our own country's well-being.
I wholeheartedly agree. I do not disagree with that.
I think that us being the world police, I guess, in a sense, or at least as I like to think of it, as keeping our influence spread across the world, so our bigger enemies, Russia and China, don't really get the foot in the door. That should still be somewhat of a focus, but I can understand
Yeah.
wanting to focus more on home. So I could say that you could be like, you could improve focus at home and maybe lessen a little bit worldwide, but it doesn't mean we have to completely remove uh trying to like be sort of like a police.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I think that it's important that we have our how do I word that? Yeah, I think it's important that we have like relationships built with other countries and defend other countries when they're in need. I just think that at the level that we're doing it at right now, it just kind of seems excessive.
Well,
But
yeah,
that's just my take on it. You don't have to agree with it. I'm not the one debating here.
no, I was sort of like pondering it really.
Sweet. Anybody else? I mean, yeah, I don't disagree. Iran is totally defensively playing the war, like media wise. Iran wants to seem like, why is the U.S. picking on me? Oh my God, the U.S. is bombing our people. They're being so aggressive and everything to try to turn away, I guess, supporters and allies of the United States to make us not want to be intervened in the war, similar to how Vietnam defended itself in the Vietnam War.
I can also say that my claim, when you really look at it, will be more like long term as well, by the way. Is like the long term like image of the United States is what, well, they've been doing this as best.
That was my point.
But I think it'll just make it worse. I think it could just make it worse, though. You don't really want to make it worse in a sense, because eventually people would be like, all right, enough. And eventually they'll just like sort of actually want to sort of backhand us in terms of agreements and deals. Maybe so, yeah, but like you'd still want those allies that are closer to China and Russia. You don't really want to have them turn their back on us because you don't really want China and Russia to get stronger.
I don't necessarily think that that's a factor at the current moment.
Current moment,
What?
yeah, but in long term,
In the
What do you
long
mean by
term,
that,
of course.
Donnie?
I don't think that we're at a place where we need to be worried about. I'm sorry, I'm eating. I don't think we're in a place where we need to be worried about the fucking economic state of China and Russia. Like, yeah,
I think we are
Donnie, we know
absolutely
you're
at a
eating.
state
it's
where
about
we need to worry
it's about
about
them
China.
expanding their
I'll be back.
influence. You don't really want them to expand their influence.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
like,
100%, but I don't think that people that what I mean by that is I don't think that they are. I don't think that those people are not those people. Those countries are even looking to do that because
Maybe
of what
not
Donnie, they
now.
no, like they absolutely are. Like that was the
Yeah.
whole point of the Cold War.
And Canada's like right on our border. Like we need to
Yeah,
be
I mean,
like
if
the closest country.
Canada allows for China to put military bases inside Canada within clear view of U.S. forces or U.S. bases, I mean,
I
this
think they'll
happens
do
all
that.
over the world. This is happening in South/Central America. This happened in Cuba during the Cold War with Russia.
Russia.
This is happening in Africa, where we're actively, I mean, like military forces are currently going on with operations.
Hmm.
Beans and bullets.
Well, no, I agree with you there because we don't really like. Yeah, we have people fighting in other countries, but we're in a spot where we can help people because we're not like we're not like in the same spot as Ukraine or like Iran. So yeah, I agree with that. It makes sense. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
It's like
I mean, it's the same way where we help Ukraine, and Ukraine is actively keeping Russia weaker by killing
yeah,
tens of thousands of them every single month on that
Yeah.
front,
yeah.
making them
Yeah.
waste all their resources.
I guess that could also like be what I mean as well. What I mean by the worldwide image of the United States is like it's like how we're viewed upon. and you don't really want that to sour too much because yes, sure, we do have allies who are super entrenched with us, but even then, you still don't want them to be like, oh, the United States, because you don't want them to sort of
Don't they already
half-hearted
look down on us anyway?
be our ally.
Like at this point.
Yeah, but I'd say if like more countries sort of influenced. Yeah, but I'd also say like that can also come with like the expanding influence of Russia and China, especially China. You don't really want them to seem more and more tempting, especially for our own like entrenched allies. Because again, like especially with policy wise, you could say like, yeah, they'll still look more to us, but there could still be that possibility for them to be like, "Hey, you know what, might get a better deal with China." Not saying it's a definite, but it could be a possibility, and I don't really want to have that ever be a sort of entertainment for them. Should we do a shot for the?
I was about to
two
say
second
we're
claims?
on claim 2. We need a shot.
Yeah, we need to do a shot.
I bet. Okay. It kind of sucks that we like already talked about this a little bit, but we'll go further in depth because we
Are we
didn't
doing
talk
it
about it
together, or did you
too
guys already
much.
take your shots?
I didn't take mine yet.
You have your camera on? Let's do
I
it.
can put it on. This
Uh,
one is different. This one is a Smirnoff Sour. Ooh, I am sun-kissed right now.
Well, I wish you were kissed by me. Huh?
I have fucking I have Erica Kirk eyes right now, dude. Like, all right,
I love it.
3,
Two,
2, 1.
one. Cheers. Ah.
That was a lot better.
Not yet. We got to get a few drinks in though. Who knows? Maybe that second shot might help us.
Or maybe it'll turn into the love match, and me and Colby
Real.
go to a private call.
Colin,
Yeah,
you just sounded like you did a bump of coke after you took that shot.
Let's do it.
Who's to say he didn't?
Damn, nigga.
You know, I just didn't want to taste it yet, so you know. I like to think more of like the Left 4 Dead 2, like heroin needle.
Sound like Russman after he drinks a perk, nigga.
Ugh.
Ugh, fucking hate fish.
All right, sweet. Are you ready? All right, so claim 2. I feel like this is probably my like most cared about take. So I would say that Iran is absolutely a threat, if not one of the biggest threats to the United States currently, and military action was inevitable and needed. And then like with the side note of Iran is the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism. I mean, just recently, I can name a few fronts which have attacked both U.S. forces as well as just innocents in the area. So you have Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, as well as the Islamic Palestinian Jihad Front. And then I can give a bunch of different citations for what they have all done. So, I mean, Hamas was obviously the key role player in October 7th, um, as well as the Netanyahu hotel bombing, which killed like 55 people. Hezbollah was the Beirut barracks bombing, back in the 80s, which killed over 300 total Blue Force Party members. So 241 U.S. military servicemen, 58 French servicemen, 6 civilians, and then obviously the 2 suicide bombers. The Houthis being the Strait of Hormuz ship bombings from as early as 2023, I believe, all the way up to currently. And then the Islamic Palestinian Jihad Front also played a large role in October 7th, as well as the assassinations of Israeli civilians and like proponents of the Israel war. And obviously, I don't really give too much of a fuck about Israel. However, just the fact that Iran is actively going out and supporting, funding, getting guns and weapons for these people out there, I believe that it was necessary, or it still is necessary, to cut off the snake's head to stop the funding and support to these groups.
Yeah, Big Netanyahu's going to get you for that one, buddy.
Again, I
I
would
just
say
said the most pro Netanyahu thing I could have ever said.
I
And
would
you don't give a
say
fuck
that
about
like,
Israel, nigga.
Oh, I did
start
say that.
initiating the sort of aggressive attack on Iran to give them the sort of like you'd said, the we're being attacked for no reason sort of deal doesn't really help. Again, we had been imposing like limitations for their access within the global market as well as seizing assets. And you mentioned they had been bombing the Strait of Hormuz as early as 2023.
I believe so. Or no, I
Let's
misspoke.
see.
2024. My fault. My fault.
The Strait of Hormuz. Well, yeah. Well, there you go. It's like we had a counter plan to that, which didn't escalate to bombing them, so to speak.
Well, I mean, we were
Yeah, it's mm,
we were also still bombing the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas during all of this time. We just never took direct strikes on Iranian soil to the Iranian IRGC.
I would argue that us pulling out of the JCSOP could have helped like make them and fund more and feel more comfortable doing it without having like the limitations and restrictions of that deal. And not only that, if it became such a big problem around that time frame, we could have renegotiated that deal and gotten to talks with them. I'm saying that we'd still stayed within like the Iran deal as well. We could have used that as sort of leverage to get them to sort of slow down their roll. Not only that, but we still had various allies that could have limit their access within within like the sort of global market that would have sort of not made them feel as confident in supplying these terrorists as much as they could be doing as of right now. That shot kind of got me.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like always wanting to talk it out with a country whose new sect of government from 79 when they had their revolution their literal core ideologies as anti-Western movements and to spread the word of Islam. They're also Shia Islamists, which fundamentally believe in jihad being one of the 4 or 5, I believe it is, pillars of Islam that they need to follow to go to fucking heaven. It's in their religious text that they must kill non-believers and everybody who goes against their word of their God.
Well, even then, just like if military strikes were going to be inevitable for Iran, at the very least, we would have had more of our allies back us up, and it could have been viewed more as a preventative. Not only that, it would have drained. It wouldn't be draining our resources at a much faster rate. We would be using less of our own stuff to attack their military infrastructures and targets, and we could have used a sort of combination
I mean,
of our ally stuff and
I agree with
our
you. Oh,
stuff.
sorry, are you still talking? My fault.
No, that was the last part. I just wanted to get that point out.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. This should have been it absolutely should have been a joint effort with more than just the US and Israel and maybe funding by a few UN nations, but like you could say it's the liquor getting to me now if you want, but like it is a truthful thing that there are a lot of people in the UN, in the United States Congress that are pro-Islam, pro-Iran, or maybe not necessarily pro-Iran, but very anti-US interventionism into the Middle East. I mean, you can look at like Europe taking in all of these Islamic immigrants and like a lot of their laws and foreign policy changing both internally to like laws that you can do inside of your nation and your peoples, as well as like foreign policy to these Middle Eastern countries changing rapidly when you take in all of these Islamic immigrants. I mean, like,
I can't really see that as being the reason why they would want to be sort of against that. Like there could be various other reasons, whether it's like it's too costly looking at the previous Afghanistan and Iraq war and what that has done, especially to the United States, and so we're employing a more cautious uh, outlook on that. I can't say just like taking in lots of Muslim immigrants or having people of the Islamic faith as being like a sole contributors like, hey, no, don't bomb Iran. It's more complex. It's more complex than just like the religion. True, especially if you're inviting journalists to your wartime chat.
Can we get live fact checks like it's a Destiny video?
for what, Donnie?
I said live fact checks like it's a Destiny video.
Or
Jamie,
Jubilee.
Jamie, pull that up.
But yeah, no, you do have a point there, Shark. But again, I still think that having allies support would be more beneficial than just us doing it ourselves or having it, or at least being tied with Israel. Because again, you can argue that Israel's more using us than they are like it being sort of an in tandem thing.
I mean, I would also agree with you in the fact of like Israel is using us to support them in their efforts. It is a dual bladed sword, however. I mean, like Israel is absolutely using us, putting U.S. lives on the line, but I mean, we are at the same time. The U.S. mainland has not been bombed yet. Like we have not suffered any real civilian casualties because of either of these wars. I mean, unless you want to think of like terrorists emigrating to the U.S. and sitting in the hives, and then conducting some sort of terrorist attack, killing 20 people in a bombing in the United States.
It's like
Israel really does face the full facial blow of of this war and these consequences.
for the most part, yeah. But again, I still think that that could still shift as like, oh, now it's not just Israel; it's the United States. Maybe we should think about doing something to them, and that could increase the amount of either actual terrorist attacks or attempted terrorist attacks within the United States, if not just outright ballistic missiles from Iran.
I mean, yeah,
Firing.
and absolutely. That's why I believe we need to bomb Iran. We need to bomb Fordo. We need to bomb their launcher sites and their development sites and everything. Take down their government. I truthfully believe. I mean, this is going to sound like a warmonger take to some people, like probably Donnie, but like we should put in some sort of proxy government, which is way more pro U.S. because Iran is actively giving their tax dollars to Hezbollah and Hamas, which are trying to conduct assassination attempts on U.S. Political officials such as Donald Trump. I mean, Iran it personally came out and stated like we are going to assassinate Donald Trump, and everyone took it as
Was that
bullshit,
before or after
obviously.
the
But like,
attack? Was that
huh?
before or after the attack?
I believe that was like heavily publicized after the attack. However, like Hamas, Hezbollah, they have targeted U.S. officials who have traveled overseas to places like Israel. Lots of car bombings and building bombings. Like this isn't something that is just new due to these strikes going on in Iran. This has been a well-established theme all the way back to, like I said, like the 1983 Beirut barracks bombing, which killed over 300 service members.
Three Beirut barracks bombing. Housing French in the Lebanese Civil War. 2 suicide trucks. All right. Who were the perpetrators for that? Militant group
Hezbollah.
Hezbollah. What were the reasons behind that? I know I was saying like what were the reasons behind that? It's like sort of justifying what they did. I'm not trying to justify what they did, but you got
Anti-Western
also
philosophy, anti-United States, pro-Islam.
or 241. It's more like ideological. But that's just the Hezbollah. How much of that was I guess sanctioned by Iran? All right. The role of Hezbollah in Iran from top to bottom.
I guess that'd be a Jamie pull that up question.
I guess a Jamie Paul. As far as I'm looking at, you could yeah, I guess you could say that. But as far as I'm aware, there is no like actual like I guess consensus on whether or not like that was actually like something that was sanctioned by them. Yeah, I'm not saying they would have like carried out the attack. I can agree that they enabled it, but I wouldn't say like that would be more of like a direct like here's intel for you to attack. More just like an indirect. We just supplied the materials, and then these guys just went like used some of it or something, and went and used it and like just attacked.
Yeah,
And so
so
maybe it could have been more like a sort of independent, just like these guys were doing it.
I pulled that up if you want further context. So it says, following Israel's 1982 invasion of Lebanon, Iran dispatched 1,500 members of the IRGC to the Bekaa Valley in eastern Lebanon. And the IRGC there were specifically told to set up training camps, recruit and indoctrinate local Lebanese Shia militants, which then eventually became Hezbollah. And then, as well as they provided training to them, as well as military grade explosives and financial backing required to plan and execute the large scale suicide attacks.
Well, I'd say that they weren't. I guess they were targeting like Israel and its allies in its of itself because it wasn't just U.S. but it was also French as well. So wouldn't say they were like specifically targeting U.S. because oh fuck U.S. but it's more just like retaliation for what Israel was doing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I wouldn't say it was necessarily directly like US and France. It's just anti-Western establishment, as well as like I truthfully believe the US was probably the main reasoning of, or not the reasoning, but the main target of the bombing. It was probably just French military personnel being stationed in the barracks or at a nearby building on a joint base there.
I was also saying that like the motive was for because it was our support for Iraq during the Iran-Iraq war.
And I just asked it
So I
for
feel like that was
further
wrong.
I asked it for further clarification. Also, in September 1983, this is unclassified, by the way, the NSA intercepted a radio transmission from Iran's Ministry of Information and Security in Tehran, discussing the attacks and movement of the trucks.
Even then, like again, this was all in '83. I guess you can't. I find it a little irresponsible to just look at something that happened like 40 some years ago and just be like, all right, let's just attack these guys right now. I feel like it would have to be sort of like sort of I guess a recent thing that they've done as well, considering the fact that no doubt the United States has done something in retaliation to Iran. While it may not have been a direct military strike, it could have been more of like a sanction on them. Well, no. No one's expecting to just sort of pacify over time, but you could still, you don't have to go outright military attack as of now, or at least sort of build up to a military attack that wouldn't be so strenuous on us.
Well, I just believe they're perpetually going to preach this anti-Western philosophy and fund and train jihadist extremists, which are going to conduct terrorist attacks. And I mean, very fortunately, nothing has happened yet on U.S. soil, but I mean, it is imminent and eventual to happen on U.S. soil.
I
Uh,
just think this military attack as of now is just going to accelerate that. I think it could have been done better. I can agree that it was inevitable, but it still could have been done better than how it was now.
I mean, yeah, sure, it's gonna piss them off. It's gonna rile them up. But I mean, there's no better time than now to act. I mean, like even
Well,
if
no,
you look at the demographics of the war and what specifically has happened, I mean, like God bless those people that did die overseas, but only 19 soldiers and one U.S. contractor had been killed in the war. And I mean, six of those soldiers were in a mishap flight incident with a refueler, and if you compare that to what's going on in Iran, per the US, over 6,000 military personnel have been killed for Iran, with over 15,000 wounded, with 190 plus ballistic missile launchers destroyed, 155 naval vessels being destroyed. And when we talk about naval vessels with Iran, like it's not like a stereotypical ship that you think of. Iran's navy is more of like mine layers, or like unironically like the shit that you were doing in Battlefield Hardline where you drive by and hold an RPG out the window and shoot somebody's car. Like that's what they were doing to people's commercial vessels, disrupting trade in the region, as well as 2,500 Hezbollah's fighters being killed.
these ships. I guess more sanctions on them, in a sense. I guess sort of talking with our various allies to sort of, I guess, hurt in a way, just like sort of use their global trade as a sort of leverage and like be willing to be open for talks on them. But for the most part, I'd say maybe you could maybe use a blockade actually for their goods. But again,
That's what we've done to the Strait of Hormuz. Like we've shut down the strait and personally escorted all of these commercial vessels going through the
that
strait.
was after the attacks. I'm saying that you could do it like sort of before any military attacks, or just like use military attacks as a last resort. It could, but then that would make them the aggressor at that point, and then
Would you would you not say that they're already would you not say that they're already the aggressor by funding these terrorist organizations to shoot at, destroy, and kill U.S. forces as well as civilian commercial forces in the areas?
indirectly, yes, but I guess directly targeting them at the point wouldn't be helping a whole lot. Just attacking the terrorist groups would be more of a situation that you would need to do in a sense. I'm trying to say
Uh,
you have to
I
be
mean, I
more
would
of
just
a
say like, sorry.
have to be more of a because again, you got to also think about like I guess the image from our allies as well, whether it's Arab allies or European allies. Because again, you want to maneuver in a way that would make them want to be more inclined to help us instead of just be like, oh no, you're on your own at this point.
I mean, I would love to agree with you. I do think talking it out is an amazing thing that people should do, as well as like when it includes somebody's like life being on the line. However, we can only talk it out so much before people die, before things like this actually happen. And I mean, like the truth shows we have sent sanctions to them. We have basically told them off and saying like you are actively funding the killing of people all the way back to the early 80s with the Beirut barracks bombing, the embassy siege that had happened. Like this has been an ongoing issue, and like I said, it was inevitable. It was needed.
Let's say I argue it'll be inevitable, but I'm saying just more just like yeah, well, unfortunately we do have to be the bigger man in this sense. So I guess try exhausting everything within a sort of more of a short time period would allow our allies to be, I guess, more in support of us for an inevitable military action instead of just like I guess looking at us as more of an like an extreme aggressor, especially with I guess other political talks of invading Greenland and annexing them, or what you could even use Venezuela in a sense. If you agree with that, you can still have that image of us being an aggressor, just like sort of tainting us a bit, and you don't really want that, especially with our allies. Yes, yes,
I mean, yeah, the U.S. has done this. I believe the U.S. unironically probably will always do this. I would love to keep talking about that, but that does go like wholeheartedly directly into one of my points, and I don't want to kind of like disrupt the topic at what we're
yeah.
at right now.
I get what you mean. But I guess my counter argument is that this wasn't the time for it.
When else would have been the time? Like, are you waiting for a specific action to happen?
I would, I wouldn't say maybe you could say specific action, and I guess more of in a sense, maybe just a good amount of time for where our past actions don't seem so, uh, uh, I guess, soon relevant in a sense.
Would you say 40 years is too soon?
40, not 40 years. I'm not talking just like not just with Iran in general, but just like our actions around the world in general and how as our current president has been sort of acting that's been having other like our other countries look at us in a sort of not a good light
I mean, yeah,
for sure.
like politics aside, everyone's aware of like the Epstein files, and people are gonna say like this war is a distraction because of that stuff.
Well, not even like
Like,
the Epstein files itself. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about like the Epstein files in a sense, just more of just how we've been sort of acting towards our allies itself, especially with like all the tariffs. You could like
yeah,
argue
I mean,
with
like
the
Trump
tariffs.
clearly is a begrudging old man, and he necessarily isn't the best at making allies in the world. But I truthfully believe he is good at putting bad people in their place. As seen with this war, as seen with what Trump was doing to Iran and Syria in his 2016 presidency. I mean, I faithfully believe that this was needed. That like now was the time to do it. I mean, like we had the Fordo situation go on where we had to bomb their enrichment facilities. October 7th had just happened in Israel where Iran had funded, gave weapons to, trained people, gave maps to the cities to these Muslim extremists where they literally like I'm not like and I'm not trying to sound like some like pro fucking kike shill, but like it was a thing that they were actively going out in the streets and just murdering Christians and Jews because they're Christians and Jews. They're Western people inside of what they believe to be their homeland. I'd like you to elaborate on that. Absolutely. I mean, it is the truth of like if you fuck with the US, you are going to end up in some sort of body bag. I mean, like the early 2000s, we were specifically targeting the bomb makers, people who were laying IEDs and going after all of these people in the Middle East that were supporting the Taliban. We weren't going out there and killing the innocent people. We weren't going out there and killing government heads that weren't doing anything. I mean, the US has been a force to kind of push back the aggressor. I don't really think our involvement was too much of like a tip of the spear situation where we jumped right in. I believe I mean we have been back and forth for a while. It's kind of like you poke the bear a little too much and we're going to do something about it. I would agree. Like short and sweet, I would agree.
I'd say like argue even if we exhaust it, start with those non-military like attacks and then sort of just like in a short span of time sort of build up to it. So at the very least our image with our allies they'll be a bit more supportive of our decision.
Well, that's what we just said. Like we have talked to them for so long. We condemned them for the Beirut barracks bombing. We condemned them
Well,
for the
I
embassy
guess what I
siege.
mean is like you do it again to sort of seem like you're doing it in good faith, and then like eventually, like even if you're like planning it's going to be an inevitable military attack, at the very least you want to like come off as you're trying your best, within, especially within a short span of time, because not many people will always look at the long, like way past when, as like reasons to do this.
I mean, yeah, you tell them off. You do it again, do it again, do it again. You see what happens. Do it again. You see what happens. Like
Yeah, exactly.
what specifically is the point that we do take action though? And like I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but like
No, no,
I
no, no.
really feel like that is a big question here.
I guess what I'm saying is like I guess you do more sanctions. I guess little by little things that'll hurt them, but be willing to talk with them and negotiate, but like be more hard on it. And eventually, like you could say, like you could be hard to the point where they're, of course, they'll disagree, but you sort of want to build towards it instead of just be like, all right, just attack because of all these things from all these years ago.
Would
Because
you
you sort
not say that would you not say that backing out of the uranium deal was like arguably the final straw?
well, we backed out from it. What do you mean?
Like backing out from the deal, basically saying like, hey, you're not allowed to enrich uranium anymore. You're not even really allowed to feasibly hold uranium that can be used for militaristic purposes. Would you not say that that is one of the biggest like
Well,
last straw type
Iranium, yeah.
situations?
Iranium is uranium in Iran. Sure.
Did I say uranium? My fault.
But what really what were the reasons for, I guess, backing out of it? They would have to be like very like justifiable reasons for it, because it doesn't
Stopping them from doing backdoor enrichments, putting them in a place where if we catch them doing it after striking them on the hand a final time, we were able to successfully strike Fordo. And obviously, like reports haven't come out specifically about how much uranium was destroyed or anything, but it was pretty crucial in the fact that we did destroy a lot of their centrifuges and enrichment techniques,
but
as well as we did kill a lot of scientists, which were actively enriching uranium after we had backed out of the agreement.
but what were they doing any known backdoor like uranium enrichment while we were in the deal?
Um, I mean, yeah, I was about to say, like, I
Or
don't think,
I guess it'd be more of like an intel sort of thing.
yeah, I mean, Israel has said that they've been enriching uranium since like the fucking 70s, and like, or since like the early 80s. Like, you could believe that, you could not. It's really hearsay when it comes to like foreign intel.
But was that after we backed out of
No,
it?
I believe it was a lot more
No,
than
was it after we
35%,
backed out? After we had
because
left? So if it was
at
after we had left, so then
at
it would be.
rest under Obama, we had allowed them to hold enriched uranium up to 60%, I believe, because for like nuclear weapon purposes, it needs to be enriched to the like 99th percentile. Yeah.
Hold on. Deal. I wanna make. All right, enriched up to 3.67% for the. Iran was restricted to a maximum stockpile of 300 kilograms of uranium hexafluoride, enriched up to 3.67% during the Iran nuclear deal, which is suitable for civilian nuclear power, but far below the roughly 90% threshold. It also required them to reduce their overall enriched uranium stockpile by roughly 98%. And this was to last for about 15 years. So this was already like a restriction to prevent them from at least getting close to that. Not entirely, no.
Of requiring oversight of their enrichment processes, calculating how much specific uranium there is and where they're storing it. Is that what you're referring to? Yeah, it was pretty much like an audit thing, I believe, to where we had to, not necessarily the US, but it was like an international activity to where we had to go in and double check their Iranian reserve, or fuck, Jesus Christ, their uranium reserves, to see how much truthfully they had and test it to see what level it was. I mean, even the ISRM, the Institute of Strategic Risk Management, which is an international organization, had published an article stating by May of 2025, Iran's enriched uranium inventory had risen to approximately 9.2 tons, and 400 kilograms, so a little less than half a ton, was enriched to at least 60% purity, and that was even 3 months before the Fordo strikes. So I mean, we don't know how much further on an unclassified level those levels of uranium were enriched.
So we had verification and monitoring. We had surveillance for that, and I guess if it was found that they were enriching above what the deal was, it could do like a sort of like all like sort of pre like planned embargoes and sanctions would come back into full force. I mean, it would go through some sort of like, I guess, a vote or sort of like grace period, but eventually, like our full sanctions would have gone like slapped down on them. And given then the fact that they were under the binds of a deal that wasn't just the United States but various other countries, again, I think you could have like I could use that as, say they were enriching above like what the deal was, and then we found that out and we put embargoes and sanctions on them from before that. You could say that yes, they would go and I guess support these terrorist organizations, or maybe even start their enrichment on building nuclear weapons. But at the very least, when we would go and I guess attack them, which I would argue could lead to an inevitable military attack, we would have more support on that.
I
That's
mean,
like,
yeah, I do agree with what you're saying, but like holistically, I think the final closing point of this entire bullet that I've had is like, at what point do you think the final slap on the wrist is, and why is that? Like you said, like for every point, like yeah, I think we should have talked it out. I think we should have had Congress talk it out. I think we should have sent them
well,
some sort of sanction. But we've been doing that for decades.
which again we came to a sort of conclusion with the Iran nuclear deal, in which we backed out of for, I would say, we didn't really have a good reason for backing out when like this was supposed to be for up to 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with your statements of the nuclear deal and such, but I'm talking more holistically about the state sponsoring of terrorism, I guess, as well as the enrichment of uranium. Like, how long of telling them, "Hey, don't do that. Hey, don't do that. Hey, don't do that," do we
I
give
think the
them?
deal was the sort of final straw, like for us, is like this is the deal. Follow this. We find out you're break. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, yeah, but the deal did have very big flaws inside of it. I mean,
Of
the deal
course,
didn't
but
even
like,
have any clauses against testing of ballistic missiles.
which I guess you could say that was the sort of like Iran's argument of we at least need some ballistic missiles as a, I guess, uranium rich country. And you can make the argument as like any country, I guess, because like the United States, I guess you could say fucking UAE or Saudi Arabia or even one of our European allies have these missiles as well as like a sort of defense, like make the argument for defense as like a sort of retaliation strike. But I would argue that the JCOP was our like final straw, and if they were to break that, then we could have uh, not only do full force of our previous sanctions on them, but if they retaliated against that, we could have done a military strike. And not only that, but that military strike would have had more of a backing with our allies.
Yeah, and I mean, I would argue that we had pretty good reason to back out of it. Like I said, like the loophole with the testing ballistic missiles to see if they could actually carry enriched uranium, as well as just like the Israel and U.S. intelligence pointing out that Iran was concealing military nuclear archives from the investigations.
And we don't back out of the deal. We can either A, try to fix the flaws of it, or B, confront them about that. Be like, hey,
About which one? Yeah. Mm.
but even then, like, again, we could have still, like, within the terms of the deal, confronted them about it, maybe come up with something, A, which would be like an idealistic, but if nothing could have been done about it, then do the full force of the sanctions and the embargo. And then if they did something in retaliation to that, military strikes.
I'm control Fing it to find out where specifically in here.
I'd say if like under the terms, like we didn't catch them and we did, because like the point of like the Jays, because one of the points is that that gets found out, we do the full sanctions and the embargo on them, and then well, part of the enforcement was putting those embargoes on it, and if I guess if they do more to retaliate that, or if they're still building more, we can at least we could do a military attack on them, which would be understandable because then
No,
we
I
get
didn't. I pressed Control V, and I think
get
I
ready to
accidentally
attack
did a
us.
Control Call button. Yeah, so I just forwarded you the link from 2018, an archived White House post, and specifically in there, the second main bullet says Iran's bad faith and bad actions. Iran negotiated the JCPOA in bad faith, and the deal gave the Iranian regime too much in exchange for too little. The first sub bullet states intelligence recently released by Israel provides compelling evidence about Iran's past secret efforts to develop nuclear weapons, which it lied about for years. The intelligence further demonstrates that the Iranian regime did not come clean about its nuclear weapons activity, as well as it entered the JCPOA in bad faith. So Iran had deliberately lied about how much uranium they had, what percent enrichment level it was, what their use was for it, and they basically set up the JCPOA to allow them to go through these loopholes. It hinges on Israeli intelligence in the first two bullets. It's not necessarily just Israeli intelligence; it is U.S. intelligence. I mean, I would love this debate to be in a skiff, but like obviously it's not.
And even then, I don't think that could be, I guess, justifications to leave it, but use the enforcements on it. And then you could say inevitably military action, which I think would have garnered a bit more support from our allies, and we wouldn't just be like the only ones doing anything about it.
I mean, I just wholeheartedly disagree, and I feel like we're just going around in a big circle of it was the right time to strike, and we should have talked it out. It was the right time to strike. We should have talked it out. So absolutely.
The debate on enrichment is still ongoing.
Say again.
Yeah.
Because they're still debating the enrichment.
I mean, this really started out with the state sponsor of terrorism, and then kind of subtly moved to the enrichment. I think my main claim is Iran is state sponsoring terrorism. They're killing a lot of Americans. We need to strike them. Anybody
in.
want to ask anything or jump in?
Not really. I was in and out.
I think it's
Donnie?
funny that Colton. This nigga
I
Colton
think it's
treats
funny when
politics
Colton
the
gets
way he
quiet.
do the D&D and combat encounters. He's like, what if I try to talk him down? And it's a whole terrorist organization.
Well,
Literally,
you
nigga,
buy
leave
I,
him
I
into
to
like
like
when
it.
Colton
terrorist
kept being quiet.
organizations, but like Iran is a more of a big like country.
I
Has
mean, yeah,
very
it's like your
resources
third grade
military.
teacher hating you, and your third grade teacher slips the big fat nigga $5, and the big fat nigga beats you up. It's
You
like you're
beat up,
gonna
you
you're
beat
gonna
up
be
the big
pissed at the
fat
teacher.
nigga, but if you go and attack the teacher,
I just
you're
think
in a
it's
lot of
funny because this
trouble.
nigga Colton's like, well, we need to exhaust every single option. And Logan's like, well, how many times do we have to let these niggas slide before, like,
Well, again, the
we just say
JCPOA
fuck
was
it and
like
actually do
I
something?
argue was our final like thing, and if they didn't follow it, then we attacked them. Because again, you also got to again, like I'm saying, you got to look at like the image because again, it could be easily to uh, point the finger at the United States and be like, "You're the aggressor," and then have our allies be like, "Oh, we can't really support this." When you really want allied support, because we can't like do everything by ourselves. I mean, hell, Afghanistan and Iraq was more of a coalition, a U.S.-led coalition, but still a coalition. So a lot of it comes down to like I guess imaging or like images, like how you need to be viewed because you don't want to be viewed
Yeah,
as
but
just
like, how many times do you gotta let a terrorist organization slide before you actually
we're,
enact on something?
we're saying Iran is sponsoring terrorist organizations and we're attacking the terrorist organizations itself,
Yeah.
but we're not attacking Iran. You can again, like I said, the
Well,
GCPOA again could be like one of the final things for it. Because when you're dealing with a bigger nation, it's a lot more complicated than just let's just bomb them immediately.
well, yeah, but we gave them opportunities and we talked to them and tried to work shit out with them, and they
Well,
chose not to.
also slighted them as well when they had done shit. So it's been
Yeah.
a tit for tat sort of deal.
Yeah,
So it's not
Jimmy,
like we
pull that
just like
up.
we talk to them. It's like you go into talk, be open for these talks as like
Jimmy, can
a
I get
sort
a
of like
fact check on that?
on a good faith. I don't know. You'd say various sanctions and embargoes on them. I guess. Hold on.
Oof. Womp
See
womp.
how cool. Hold on. We did support Iraq during the Iraq-Iran war. We downed an Iranian flight. We also isolated like economically isolated them.
Click, 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 click.
And there was also, I guess you could say, the assassination of their general in 2020. So it's not just like talks, but we've also,
Soleimani.
yeah, we've also done attacks against them as well. But it's never escalated to like a full-on like attack against Iran. So it's not just all like talks, but at the same time, you also got to be looking, especially for the United States, as being like
I mean, yeah,
a leader of like democracy and like the free world, to be again the bigger man in a sense.
we
Especially when
literally
we
called in a predator missile and slimed out their top general, and them niggas still didn't listen.
Yeah, like I mean, like at this point, like if you have shit like that, at what point is like, at what point do you stop giving them chances? That's my
Right.
question. Like,
It's
at
like
what
Gavin that
point
night
do
that he
you
blacked
stop?
out and Zach was whooping his ass and he kept getting back up.
Yeah, like you just kind of have to put somebody
I'm
down
saying
at some
our
point.
JCOP could have been our final chance if utilized properly, instead of just backing out of it. We could have enforced on it.
Yeah, but there were massive loopholes lying in the JCPOA, which I had outlined in my statement earlier, which specifically did not reference the testing of or nuclear weapons and missiles being able to carry nuclear warheads, as well as Iran deliberately lying about their uranium storages, and then
Okay.
continuing to fund these terrorist organizations to kill U.S. and Blue Force allies.
still think we could have, I guess, again, used what was going to be like our initial retaliation for them breaking it instead of like leaving it. Especially, and then especially like I also go back to how we've been acting before our strikes in Iran. Because my
I was about to say, I think we just need to move on to the
I
next
guess really
point.
my whole thing is like you gotta like kind of look at it as like a sort of imaging thing. You don't really want to look at all like any sort of like bad, like negatively in a sense before. All right, say
Does anybody else have anything they want to jump in and say? I guess just Donnie and Sam, because it's just you two.
No, I'm good. I said what I had to say.
Sam's probably fucking asleep.
my second claim will be if the Iran war continues, it will be more costly than our support for Ukraine.
In what sense?
In a sense of just like I guess money that we need to create and send missiles to fight and strike Iran. And I guess sort of Pete Hegseth's sort of call for 1.6 trillion, which isn't for all of it for Iran itself, yes, but
The
how
the
many
new
times?
defense budget are you talking about?
Yeah, yeah. But how much? Again, like a lot of that could be used for like stockpiling our munitions, and those munitions again get sent to bomb Iran. Then that could also be another call for more money to restockpile our munitions as well. Whereas like
I
with your
Yep.
support you for Ukraine, like over the years led up to around like what it was like 130 some $billion. I I'd say I guess in terms of like money overall being used, especially it could lead to I guess either more cuts for things for back home or maybe like an increase in taxes in a sense, which I don't think this current administration will want to do, but they might try to. Yeah,
I mean, I wholeheartedly, genuinely do not disagree with that statement. I mean,
and I'm saying more
the
like our support, like overall for Ukraine. By the way,
yeah, like I mean, the Ukraine war, our support in it isn't really a direct involvement as it is in Iran and the Middle East. In fact, like with the Ukraine war, while we have sent them a massive like nigger load of money, we still use it to test out new military equipment. We get to send them our pieces of gear that we really haven't been able to test out yet, and they get to test it for us. We get to do study and cost analysis off of it. So I mean, like I think arguably the biggest part of the Ukraine war is like the FPV drone aspect of it. I think it's like 80% of total casualties in the Russo-Ukraine war are from FPV drones. So that goes into how we shape and redesign our military forces. I mean, I can't speak on too much of the other branches. I do know that the Marine Corps directly is reshaping their scout platoons to specifically have an FPV drone operator.
yeah, but like we definitely use the Ukraine war. Yeah, like you were saying, just like a sort of as we're using Ukraine as our sort of training. We're seeing what they're doing, so we know what to do next. Not only that, but like it's not just us that was supporting them; it was other like countries supporting them as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Whereas like
like
this one would be mostly us.
just pulling up the cost analysis I pulled up. So, from in
Yeah,
the four
yeah,
years
extra
we've
credit.
been in Ukraine, it's like 180 billion, ranging from 175 to 185 billion, in direct support,
You
and
might have the
in
same like
the
source actually.
huh,
You might be have the same source for that actually.
and then the direct cost analysis for the Iranian war in the 4 or 5 months we've been in it, starting from February, it is anywhere around $40 billion in like direct operational costs to close to 75 billion, 80 billion in defense supplementals. So like actually transporting troops over there, maintenance of gear, etc. I mean, I don't deny that if this war does continue to go on, it will be way more costly than the support of the Ukraine war. I think I made it pretty evident in my first claim that I'm very pro intervention with the Iran stance. I am very anti long term
Long
staying
term,
and
yeah.
keeping it going.
Which I think because of like again, just like part of the reason why I think like going to like I guess the argument with the second claim as well is because I don't want it to because I think it will be more costly, and again with it only being us doing it, we'll be the ones spending more. Whereas with Ukraine, well, yes, we were sending billions of dollars. It wasn't just us; it was also various other NATO countries helping out with Ukraine as well. So we weren't having like a whole like strain on that. Where I think with this, with Iran, it'll eventually cause strain on us.
In economic terms,
Yeah, in like economic terms, you also say militarily if it increases with boots on the ground.
yo, I mean, I don't see any like necessarily like direct ways with specific analysis points. However, I mean, we do see like the siege on Venezuela, how easily that was carried out and like conducted. Um, like with Caracas, like the attack was 2.5 hours long, and we were able to very cleanly and precisely attack and capture both their president and their like vice president of the nation, while not even losing a single blue or green force life. I would agree. I think definitely the U.S. would face a lot more pressure and or like casualties in an Iranian siege. I mean, I'm not like a map planner or like like a MAGTF planner for the Marine Corps, but I do genuinely think like in a quick invasion like blitzkrieg type invasion, I think that we could easily take Tehran from bombing it with fighter jets and ICBMs, and then going in boots on the ground with like Delta Green Berets go in and
I would
clean up the action.
also say that like you can say that like with Venezuela, uh, it was months of like intel and planning. Whereas I feel like with Iran, it sort of became a bit of a spur of the moment in a sense, with Trump thinking because of the Venezuelan raid that he'd be like, "Oh, I can do this with Iran," and it'd be like the same deal.
Like paraphrase that again. Sorry.
I guess like I feel like with Venezuela, it would seem like it was more of like a months of like planning and intel gathering, but with Iran, it seemed a bit more of like a little bit of a spur of the moment with like a, oh, I did this with Venezuela, I can do this with Iran. And
Yeah.
like
So I mean, like we've been like it's no secret that the U.S. has high capability intelligence. Same with paired with like Israel. Like we've been spying on both nations for X amount of years, planning military events, planning anything in the worst case scenarios. I don't believe that there was an overwhelmingly like large amount of evidence supporting the Venezuela siege compared to what could be used for an Iranian siege.
it's tr- that is true as well. And like I guess that also goes back to why I'm so like ham fisting the whole like I guess talks, especially like with between our allies to prepare for that. So at least like we can at least like plan something militarily that could like yeah, I guess I can agree with you, Logan, that there will be casualties, especially civilian casualties. But I think that with these talks we can plan something that can help minimize it a lot better than what's been going on, or what could happen due to things escalating.
I mean, I would agree that like escalation is already like maximum level right now. I mean, we're actively Iran's actively bombing our soldiers overseas on forward operating bases. They're bombing Israel. We're bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it couldn't have like gone down as it is now if like we sort of like got the mindset of we will do this, but we don't start immediately.
I don't know. I truthfully believe
It's
that
hard to
we do
say.
have the military and technological capability paired with intelligence to construct havoc among the like Iranian intelligence and military operations. I mean, we saw their most secretive and fortified bunker being Fordo, like just completely get raped by a couple B2 spirits that like honestly I don't even think we knew that they could do the damage that we had had gone through analysis of. It was a purely like speculative belief of like, are these GBU 57s going to be able to actually puncture these bunkers and do some damage? And like, I think that is the biggest like strong point of like we have the massive technological capability. I just feel like we're not using it the way that we should.
I feel like we could use it the way that it should, but I guess if we bomb these bunkers, and especially like with the first attacks killing their leadership, but with them like I guess bouncing back on that and being able to prolong this thing and not have us come to like I guess like a solitary ceasefire that can last, actually, I think that can do a bit more harm. Whereas like I guess like I know Donnie was griping me about doing these like talking and like doing these like trade things. Part of that could also
I did
be,
whatever dishes were there.
I think part of that could also be like allowing us a grace period to be able to plan militarily for when we would need to attack. So things don't seem a little, I guess, will escalate to the point where like we got all these people dying.
By all these people dying, do you mean just people in general,
Yeah, I
Iranians,
could
or
say
like Blue
people in
Force?
general, like the civilians and our military personnel, especially in areas like Lebanon that got bombed.
Are you referring to the Beirut barracks bombing or like recently
The recent ones, not
okay.
like way back when, because that was just like a whole that the whole Beirut bombing was a part of like a bigger whole mess.
Yeah, I mean like I'll kind of rephrase this again, but like
Yeah.
once again, obviously it really does suck to see like American service members dying overseas, like
Oh yeah, I
fighting
agree.
over a war that really isn't theirs. But when you compare the numbers, like 19 soldiers have been killed, 13 in action, compared
That's so
to
far
the
though.
6,000 plus military personnel for Iran, and then 2,500 Hezbollah fighters, and then all of their infrastructure.
Ideally, I would have liked to, if we had to have lose people with with those 19 people, like we lose those 19 people, but we can at least see more of a
Like
clear end in
growth from
sight.
it.
And like I'd say like a clear end in sight, whereas I don't think we do. And it seems like things could only escalate even worse to a point of an actual boots on the ground military invasion.
I don't really foresee that happening with this situation,
It's
nor
kind of
nor
hard
do I
to believe.
necessarily want it to be a boots on the ground type thing. I would like it to be a conduct precision warfare from the air, bomb their strategic targets, bomb their diplomatic officials that still preach death to the United States. Like these people are a nasty group of people. They have been claiming that they want Western philosophy to die. Americans are like chauvinists, and they're going out and they're killing all these innocent Muslim people when that's like just not the case.
Oh yeah, no, that's fucked up too, and I think that's fucked up. And I would have liked to, I believe it or not, I would have liked to like seen a regime change. I just think it could have been done with a bit more planning. I don't think a whole lot of planning went into this. It seemed like it was a sort of, we did this with Venezuela. Why don't we do this with Iran?
Yeah, I would also agree with that. Is like this did seem very kind of pressured by Israel, I do think that we could have like got back on our feet and conducted more strategic strikes. Yes, Mister. Yeah, and I would genuinely say that it does like hurt to say like seeing like Americans dying, but I truthfully believe like the overall toll and like imposition of power, basically just like showing our presence. We are not a force to be reckoned with, as some people would say. I would say that that is truthfully worth the situation as it is. Like I would say as it was maybe like a month ago before the last like I think it was like 5 service members killed in the bombings in the last like 2 weeks. I do feel like Colton has a really good point of like the war is lasting a little too long, as I also say too, and we are kind of losing a cost analysis long term, both like militaristically losing people, losing aircraft, losing ships. I don't think we've actually lost the ship. Sorry, losing like radar systems, as well as like economically here to the people. Like I'm not gonna lie, nigga. I don't want to pay $4 fucking a gallon of gas. I don't. Colton might be paying fucking more than that. He's up in Michigan. Like
You want to
it,
know? You want to know something? Like
what?
I just paid for gas today. I was just slightly below half. I paid like 59 bucks.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. But I do feel as if like killing Al Khamenei, possibly having a person who's going to be like, hey, let's not fuck with the U.S. Right now. Let's give it a little bit of time. Let's rediscuss the things going on. I feel like that is truthfully worth it,
But
at least short term.
maybe yeah, and like I can agree with that, but it doesn't seem like that's really like I guess happening right now. But I think again I go back in circles with it, but I do think a bit more planning could have helped. I'm not smart enough to really say what that planning could be, but as far as I what I'm personally seeing right now, it doesn't seem like maybe. But I feel like that's also where like having more like allied support in on this could help us with that and being able to do that.
I
Because
agree, and I think that is a really good point that genuinely rolls into my like third and final point. So if you feel like you're done with your claims on this topic, I'll be more than happy to take a shot and roll into my third point.
yeah, should we do a bathroom break? Do you need to piss?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, I'm gonna be right back too.
Hello. Is it shot time? That was a lot of liquid. I thought that was like you pouring a whole beer into a glass. Look, niggas drinking doubles. This is fun. I like this. I think me and you need to have a big debate about something. And then it'll be like the Rock and John Cena, and then it's like the SmackDown versus Raw, and it's like the voices in your ear, hanging out the hair.
I knew we were boring, but I didn't realize we were that boring. just the three of us. I will say though, this has been very enjoyable.
It has been enjoyable.
Yeah,
See,
right?
this is also a really civil discussion. I wasn't
right.
expecting it to be so civil.
Yeah, no, because I was just like, man, maybe this third shot will get us. Maybe we'll just do it at the end just for fun.
No, I mean I could kind of sense it in Colton when Donnie chipped in, and Donnie was like, Colton, man, what are you talking about? And I could just like feel Colton's brainwaves being like, this fat fucking retard. Will
Yeah,
he please shut up?
I was tempted. I was kind of tempted because it's like, man, you think too much with your fists. You gotta think strategically on why you need to start. You can feel it.
All
Oh
right.
fuck! Did I spill some of that?
Are you guys ready for shot number 3?
I'm just grabbing for you. How many shots have you
Yeah,
enjoyed?
Jet's been keeping his own personal tally about like if X happens, I take a shot. If X happens, I take a shot.
Well, again, I was told the rules honestly, and I was just like, oh, he's not getting them. See, because I didn't want to go into this at all, just to like start yelling and shit. Because again, especially if you've been hearing my like whole positioning about imaging, like that goes into this as well. If I just come off as just like start yelling, oh, how many shots did you get so far? I mean, yeah, no, I've been pretty liberal. You at least see where I'm coming from, though, with my points, right? Oh my god, I just saw that ass.
All right, you guys ready?
I just saw that ass.
Huh?
I saw that ass.
Yeah, he did. All right, you guys ready?
Yep.
All right.
Ready. If it comes. Ooh, let's do it. Third claim, boys.
Okay, so my third stance is just holistically whether you agree with it or like agree with its purposes or disagree with it, the US historically within the last century has been the world police, and it is our duty to be involved in situations like this. If you would like examples, I could, but I do think it all genuinely stems from the Truman Doctrine. When Harry Truman was president, he basically came out with those points talking about like what was going on in Greece and Turkey and providing aid to these countries. Yeah. The U.S. historically has provided both financial and military aid to a bunch of different nations in the region, huh?
Why is your gun out?
My gun's not out. My gun's been there. What up?
Yeah, I'd say this is like the full, I guess, a point. But for the most part, what you said,
Iran war.
Bro, what the? Just for fun?
About 2.
Yeah.
I mean, with
oh yeah, it's actually been a lot of fun.
But yeah, the U.S. historically has been the world police. It's our duty to be involved. I believe that everything stems from the Monroe Doctrine. We have historically given both economic support to nations as well as militaristic support.
I'd say like you and I both agree on this. I think where we differ is in how we need to go about it. In a sense, it's like yeah, enforcement.
Okay, what example of militaristic enforcement, not necessarily with the Monroe Doctrine and examples after that, just of the U.S. conducting world policing with military forces. What examples would you say you agree with in retrospect with this one?
In retrospect with this one. So I guess like having our military get involved, or just like sort of like funding stuff.
Not necessarily funding, but like military, like justified military action that you would support done by the U.S. In terms of policing or supporting a small guy getting beat up by a bully type thing.
Believe it or not, I was about to say like Afghanistan when the Soviets invaded.
So like in the 80s, like supporting the Mujahideen stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Because at that point, it was just like the Soviets had invaded, and again, like they were our enemy at the time. So supporting these groups that were fighting against them, not only just like I think could speak to the rest of the world as like, hey, we're for people that who are getting invaded unjustly. We're going to support that, like even if it's indirectly, where it won't cause like a full-on war between the United States and the Soviet Union.
Yeah, so would you not say that like this ongoing epidemic also applies with specifically commercial aspects and 20% of the world's entire petroleum reserves flowing through the Strait of Hormuz and Iran state sponsoring terrorist organizations such as the Houthis to strike these ships, both losing out on capital being the oil and money being sold or gained from the oil sales, as well as destroying ecological life, like the fish and harming the naturistic aspects of that.
I mean, if we're speaking in as now as like the closing of the Strait of Hormuz, like I think that ironically, despite Iran doing that, that sort of backfires on us. It's like, well, why did Iran do that? It was open before the United States attacked. If you want to talk about them supporting the Houthis and attacking ships in the Red Sea, again, I believe at that time the Houthis were saying they were attacking ships that were of like I guess countries or like corporations or whatever that were
Western
supporting
ships,
Israel.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, of course, yeah, because eventually because like at the end of the day they were terrorists and no doubt and just pirates. You're not gonna just go after one country unless you're fucking Benjamin Gold and you say you're only going after the Spanish. So, but like I think just attacking the Houthis in general, the people that are directly responsible, well, is like a much better like image look on us than just going after Iran. I know I had a point there, but it's slowly getting lost as I speak more. Shut up. But I say just mostly just like doing something about the direct threat, I would say, instead of the indirect threat, because they're showing right now, like I guess the like quote indirect threat has caused the Strait of Hormuz to close and a sort of like global economic stop on oil.
Yeah, cut the throat off the hydra,
Yeah.
cut the head off the snake.
I can agree with Logan going after like the mostness as well, but again, you got to do it more strategically. Like if you just go in like immediately and aggressive, you don't want to appear as the aggressor. Especially, it's not even just like politics itself, but even like I guess the people here in America, because like if the war becomes so unpopular, eventually like the United States citizens will be like, all right, enough's enough. for Iran.
Talk it out.
Trying to think with Iran.
I love you, Colton.
It's kind of hard to think right now. It's kind of hard to think right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's
Yeah.
more of just.
I just quickly want to intervene, and I'm sorry if I cut anybody off, but like just to be clear, so we are on the same set of like the U.S. is basically the world police. It is our job to basically keep in checks and balances. However, where we are disagreeing is like direct action and when it should be taken.
Yeah, because
Okay.
you sort of, I'd say just like in a sense of, I guess, making it so Iran is more known as the enemy, especially for the American people, because you'd want to like get the American people to sort of back up on this. I guess proposing like a sort of like strategic of like building blocks, it's like small building blocks as well, because most people won't really think of like, well, they did this in the past. You sort of want to do this within a certain like short frame of time. Yes, yes, yes. You'd want to. I'd feel like you'd want to justify it a bit more. So when this happens, you won't have like a whole bunch of people just going like, "This is like uncalled for."
I mean, I absolutely agree. I do feel like we had enough justification with the Iran clause, like similar to how enough justification to say like protect like Bosnia when in the 90s when they were fucking ethnically cleansing all the Muslims, the
But-
U.S. military forces had to go in and protect that in the same way that we're flying over East Africa to stop all these terrorists. Like I feel like we do have enough justification to
At the
put
very least, make it
militaristic
more
effort.
clear. You can make it more clear in a sense, and I feel like, especially with like a lot of the shit politically that's been going on, it's easy to point as, oh, this is a distraction, or B, just like Trump being like, oh, well, I did this with Venezuela, I can do this for Iran.
Well,
I feel like it wasn't very communicated very clearly, especially with all the other big things as well that was happening. Because like again, like I guess I'd hate to say this about Americans, but we are pretty selfish. As much as we can
Mhm.
look at like another country that's like sort of like, oh, this regime is like gunning down its citizens. I don't feel like that was like properly like explained well. In a sense, yes, but like it also depends on who's saying it as well, because like you can like or hate Trump, but the fact of the matter is, with someone like Trump, with him saying stuff like that, it's very easy to be like, oh, like dismiss what he's saying. So I don't think like enough trust was built up, especially within this administration, to really support something, to justify it.
Yeah, so like once again, I just feel like we're really going back in circles on like talk it out versus
Yeah.
military action. Like I truthfully believe we have had enough of the talking it out. We had the JCPOA. We found out that they lied about a bunch of the things listed in the JCPOA. There were still actively state sponsoring terrorism, such as, for example, the Houthis bombing the Red Sea and destroying all these civilian commercial ships in 2023, 2024, 2025 region, as well as like we have talked to neighboring nations such as Qatar. We have had like de-escalation techniques with Qatar. Basically, instead of directly talking to Iran, we have talked to their neighbors that hopefully they would be more friendly with. And even then, it hasn't gone through. Obviously, we've had like the oil and electricity embargoes, financial and banking things, straight up closing the Strait of Hormuz. I just feel like eventually enough is enough, and we had to do something about it.
Oh, I do remember like sending something to myself about the allies. because there are allies like there's like a growing anxiety that Trump is getting boxed in with this Iran war itself.
I would agree. The perpetual like suspended state of being in this like limbo state of are we at war? Are we
And,
not?
and,
I
and
feel
it's
like we
like
should be
so
fully at war.
so one of the sources I'm reading is like at the same time Trump has bristled at the idea of accepting a deal that resembles the 2015 nuclear agreement brokered by Barack Obama. But what's the then what was the point of all of it then?
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it is their biggest target to say, because I mean, it is the whole point of their standing government to be anti-Western, to say the U.S. is doing all these horrible things.
Yeah,
Oh my
they
God,
want
look, the
to
U.S. the
fall
U.S.
into that.
deliberately bombed this school. The U.S. deliberately did this, when it's just they're either taking the whole truth and then taking something else, or they're bending the truth to the point where it's not even like nearly resemblable to the actual aspects that are going on. Iran like actively suspends and censors their media. They censor what you can say online. Um, they kill their own civilians in the streets for protesting against their government.
When you get it, when you're done.
Well,
with this.
I mean, if they're
No, I threw it. I was done with it. No, I was done with it. I threw it.
if they're goading us
I
into
took
a
my last
military
hit.
attack, like for this, the smart I don't think the smart idea would have been to like I guess fall
I got
into
more
it.
there. Don't
I
worry.
guess,
Look.
or at the very least, if we're gonna fall into it in a way where in the end we won't look like bad.
I mean, I think initially we blew the fucking fish right out of the water with the attack. I don't think Iran had any idea in their mind that we would be able to kill their grand Ayatollah. Their like no joke religious figurehead who they look at in a light not necessarily similar to Muhammad, but they respect all of his religious teachings and everything he says about Islam and what to do with the religion. We killed him in one single airstrike. They didn't see that coming. It wasn't like they're just ghosting us to keep poking them and then like fucking keep taking videos of it for propaganda. We totally
Yeah,
did
still
1,000 times more than what they expected. I just believe that we are kind of not doing as much as we should currently.
and I still think yeah.
Yeah, look,
I'm never gonna touch it. It's all yours. I'm never gonna touch it.
Well, wouldn't the smart thing would be to try to like be able to mitigate that in a sense? Just like I guess you're gonna have people that will oppose it no matter what. You're gonna have the Hassans that will fucking say no matter what, the United States is gonna be the aggressor and Iran will be the victim or whatever the fuck. I don't even know his position on it to be honest because I don't give a fuck about that guy. But I'd say again, yeah, no doubt, probably that. But again, like you'd want to like be able to try to mitigate that as much as possible. That's true. Yeah, there's one acceptable. Yeah, but at the very least, if you could try to get as many people within that open debate sort of like government to have a majority agreement that this was a good idea, I think could help a lot more than instead of like the current division that we have, where I'd say it's making it harder for us to continue, like even to like
oh,
continue.
I love your pet.
Well, of course, yeah, but at the very you don't want. But if we already have that like set large population that's going to oppose it. At the very least, with the people that like don't really care all that much. You don't really want them to lean more towards listening to the people that oppose it. You don't want to like have them seem like they have like I guess the better idea on that. It, I don't know about that. I don't know about that one actually because I remember like we were like a very like stay out of Europe until that happened, and then eventually that was like, all right, yeah, we want revenge, and then people were like more willing to actually go to war in that sense.
Like,
Oh yeah, and I mean like totally like so I used to be like a massive fucking Trump supporter. And I would say I still like somewhat am in all of his policies like combined, but I think my favorite aspect of him by far has to be his like militaristic impotence. Like he's not necessarily willing to back down military wise, and I genuinely think that that is one of, if not the best quality that you can have as the president of the United States.
You should
And I
be
mean,
able to
like,
have
even on the other end, where it's a not a Republican head figure, you can look at like Hillary Clinton, who wasn't even the president, with the whole Bosnia thing going on. Like, it might sound like a joke when I'm saying this, but like, there was the whole thing of the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Hillary had not talked to Bill in like almost a year. And when they first started talking again, Hillary was like, you need to intervene in the Bosnia. Like, they are ethnically cleansing all of these people. It is our duty as Americans to help. And I think that that's a really respectable characteristic of a American politician.
Oh yeah, we should definitely have that. I'm not going to disagree with that, but I know there has to be more to that than just a militaristic stance of doing that because then that can lead to a sort of a rash decision. I guess in a sense, you just sort of want to like, I guess, build up to it. You still want to keep enough good faith that you want to do it, so that when you actually do it, it's very scary. Like you actually piss this off instead of it just being like a rash sort of thing. To be like, oh, if we just stand against this for a while. Oh,
Sorry, I'm back.
you're
I missed like the last like maybe minute and a half. My phone connected to a speaker in the house, and I wasn't in that room because like we got people over and they heard everything we were saying.
You're good. It, does, it doesn't necessarily. I guess doesn't necessarily have to be support, but more in a sense of here are our yes transparency and like here are our reasons why for doing it. So even with the people that were just like this is bad no matter what, the people that don't really give a shit be like, well, here are these reasons, so I'm not really gonna like be like, okay, let's not do this, nor will they necessarily. And then like you can also like say with like Trump's campaign as well as no new wars, but then this happening, it's like no matter what, even if you justify it, like it's still just like, well, you promised no new wars, and then you're going off and you're attacking. And it's like, well, what is this?
I
This
don't
is
disagree.
like a
I don't.
lie. Yeah, yeah, and
I
even
mean,
if
yeah,
they
we
like
were.
disagreed with it, that like you will have people that be like, Trump, Obama was like this power hungry militaristic dictator or some shit. But then you also have other people like, I disagree with what he did, but overall,
In what fact do you mean by shut off transparency of the drone strike? Sorry, I'm not following.
I'm looking this up right now as well.
Mm.
All right, yeah.
Do,
So
do you think that's due to it being like data within an ongoing conflict, and they might release it after, or no? Because I'm pretty ignorant to this idea.
All right. All right. So it's like, so I looked it up so far. Here's what I'll read it off. We can all fact check this as well. So March 2019, President Donald Trump signed an executive order revoking an Obama era requirement that U.S. intelligence officials publicly disclose the number of civilians killed in drone strikes outside of active war zones, and it was implemented via an executive order by Obama. The rule required the Director of National Intelligence and effectively the head of the CIA to publish an annual unclassified summary of U.S. counterterrorism strikes outside of active war zones, along with an assessment.
Yeah, I would also agree. Like, I do think that the American people should know what's going on within the military forces that they're actively funding with their taxpayer dollars. However, I do also see it on the other aspect of like, if Americans see like 4 people were killed in a drone strike. I mean, like it would be a large outroar. Like the U.S. does follow specific policy protecting civilians from drone strikes. I do believe there is like leeway depending on how high value the target is. So if it's like a fucking if it's the Ayatollah, I genuinely don't think the U.S. gives a fuck about how many innocent civilians are within vicinity as long as they get them. And I mean, like that could be its own debate topic on its own. Holistically, like I do think that there are reasons both for and against that law being signed.
But also with that, but I think also with that transparency as well, it'll allow much smarter people to be able to, I guess, explain it better to the average person as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, but also like, how specifically what targeting ideas are we going to be able to use to define like this dude was a terrorist versus this dude that wasn't? These 2 people in this truck were known members of ISIS. They were riding with these other 2 guys. We don't know if they were ISIS or not. We don't have intelligence on them, so we're just gonna put them down as civilian casualties. Like that's a lot of what does go on with
I guess
these
at that
things.
point, it would chalk down to, I guess, how the person would feel. It will become like a very complicated thing and more of just like
How
a
they would
specific
feel.
individual. And
I
I
agree.
think that as well could also all right, I have the point there. I know it's like being able to review it, like consider how we approach like newer targets like differently compared to how they did before to help minimize any sort of civilian casualties. And I think this lack of the sort of lack of transparency, like in the long run, is sort of hampered.
Yes and no. I do really think that it sucks that our government can't be fully transparent with us. However, there are things with like ongoing operations or ongoing targeting of certain
Oh yeah,
individuals that they really can't talk about things, especially like I'm not trying to like straw man here or anything, but like I would actually roll my eyes and want to blow my brains out every single time if I heard fucking fat ass Donnie sit here and be like,
Did you know that the U.S. killed 3 civilians in a drone strike today? Did you know that we killed another person in a drone strike 3 days later? I would actually kill myself
I mean,
because,
like
like,
especially any smart person though would be like, what can we do to like I guess mitigate that in a sense, or in the
Yeah.
sense be like, well, we tried everything. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's also true. At the very least, like if there was nothing else that could have been done, they'd be like, well, at least we're transparent about it, and then like they can make up their own mind about how they feel.
has Colton done his third point yet or no?
No. So,
I was about to say because
yeah,
I mean I feel like we really did have a really good conversation about this, and I feel like right now we're just like
we're just
this
sort of
might sound
like,
stupid, but I feel like we're just like agreeing with each other too much for it to be a
yeah,
debate.
yeah. All right.
Sounds like it.
Oh yeah. Uh, Now this one I think it might be more of a loaded one. I'm gonna keep it how I originally wrote it because I think it's funny. If we're all cool with that,
Yeah.
all right. I'll say it fully as I wrote it too, because of funny. But the what happened? Dude, they got me.
they
But,
the IRGC is hacking Colton's computer as we speak.
The Iran war will further destabilize the middle of the East. The East. I could say it was just like, I guess really like the strikes into US allied Middle Eastern countries as well. And that currently right now is more I guess US military bases, but I feel like it could escalate to I guess a sort of I guess retaliation strike in a sense against these countries as well for continued support for us. And I think it could also lead to like a sort of long-term like conflict that like each country will have of itself in and of itself, and maybe like us the United States will try to go in and try to stabilize everything, thus keeping us in the Middle East.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I think I don't disagree for a completely separate reason. So, like, destabilizing the Middle East. I think the Middle East has historically always been destabilized. I don't really think it ever will. I feel like there is a fundamental religious difference between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam that, like, realistically, I don't think that they can ever fully get along with the stances that the three religions
Yeah, no,
really
that would
stand
be a
with,
problem. I agree.
especially with Islam, like, and particularly relating to Iran, them very specifically being like, we do not like the infidel. Anybody who is not Islamist, and even Muslims fight amongst each other with the difference of
Oh
Sunni
yeah,
versus Shia.
oh yeah.
Like, I truthfully feel like the Middle East has always been and will always be like unstable.
Oh yeah, it would
Do
be
I disagree
unstable.
with us
I don't disagree with this.
whatever the word is, destabilizing? I'm kind of drunk
Well,
right now.
I was like further destabilized. So I think like
Mhm.
that what you're saying will of course be a factor in it being like destabilized, but I think this could also make it worse in a sense where it can go beyond like the sort of religion thing into a sort of, well, this happened, and of course there's going to be like retaliations for that, and it could lead
Yeah,
to a much bigger problem.
yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily just religion. It's also just like Western ideas also. So, like,
Oh,
Islam and a lot of the nations around them. are very anti-democracy. Usually, they do have a particular head of the government, and everybody does follow that. Like specifically like Iran with the Ayatollah. Holy fuck, dude! Debating while drunk is a fever dream.
It kinda is
I had this
yeah,
whole like
right, yeah.
chain in my mind, and it literally just slipped when I pictured the
Right,
Ayatollah
yeah,
in my
no,
head.
feeling
I
that
used
too.
too much. I used too much bandwidth. I'm taking a shot.
Yeah. Are you taking a shot? Oh, yeah, I'll take a
Uh,
shot. I'll take a shot with you, Logan.
y'all are making me
Yeah,
wish I had
who drank
drinking
my
right
bottle?
Bro, Justin,
now.
me and Jess are gonna go see the Odyssey tonight.
I'm also gonna get a beer real quick to
Good
reload.
move, lad.
Yeah, we were
Yeah,
supposed
I
to
was
go
about to say
bowling, but the
tonight.
nigga canceled on us, so we were going tonight at 10:30.
Donnie, I know we're boring, but Jesus Christ, I didn't think we were boring enough for you to go see the Odyssey.
The Odyssey, yo, don't hate me, dude.
Fucking-
He's the goat for that. He is.
yeah.
That's cool. Donnie, I'm
It
gonna let
is.
you know right now.
Where the
You're
Mick
gonna be in
Ultras
that
at, babe?
movie theater till 1 a.m.
No,
bro.
I'm debating. I'm so
it'll
sorry.
be like
Huh?
2. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
it's
gonna say,
it's
I know.
pretty
I'm about to be
soon.
done like 15 minutes. Not even.
Logan,
I'm about to be done.
let me rub this on your face really fast.
My fate is it? Is it red?
Yes. So yeah.
Hold up, Lexi's rubbing lotion on my face. It's
Are you still
come.
taking a shot though?
I was
Yeah,
about to
yeah,
say, are
yeah.
you sure it's
Okay,
I have to.
I
I
got
have to
one
find a
ready.
Mick Ultra so I can reload though. Sorry. The box was just here. I think Lexi moved it because I've been drinking too much. This fucking woman. Oh, it's in the fridge. This isn't. This isn't. Oh, dude, this is like a 4-day-old one. Fuck it.
Just turn your
All right.
camera on when you're ready, Logan.
Of course. It's very dark. I have my monitor to set up so that it turns off after like a minute of non-usage. All
It's
right,
my beauty
let's do this.
character.
I'm very like kind of burnt. Not really.
Is that like sunburn or something?
Yeah, I was in the pool all day today.
Okay. Because I was like, my face isn't flushed, and I've had like a good amount of drinks.
I'm just really angry at you, Colton.
Ah, fuck you, Logan.
All right.
All
Cheers
right, let's
to
do
the
it.
niggas.
Cheers, my friend. Woo! Let's do it.
All right, where are we at?
I kind of forgot.
We
What was the
did
last one?
destabilize the Middle East.
Yeah, it was like further destabilized. So I think we agree that like sort of like the religious differences will keep it like destabilized, but I think our point is that like you agree that this war will help further destabilize it, but I think you said for a different reason.
Yeah. Well, so I agree that destabilization will happen. I don't think that it's going to be so bad to the point where we're really going to see like vast differences. I mean, obviously, it's like the classic tall tale of like a kid sees his older brother die or his dad die, and then he grows up and he becomes a terrorist himself. That's going to happen. It's very unfortunate. It's been happening for the last 30 years, like 40 years ever since Afghanistan the Soviet Union went into Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
it is a perpetual thing that's always going to happen. I truthfully believe the Middle East is always going to be divergent and changing. I gotta lock in. So yeah.
I guess my argument really just like I personally I don't feel like it really I guess addressed my whole argument. I don't know if I made the argument like not as good, but I guess really what I'm saying is that like with this, like I've been saying, like it could lead to Iran launching missiles at U.S. bases in allied Arab countries, but that could eventually lead to them just attacking those Arab countries in a sort of retaliation. Now it could just be like not all of them, but like maybe one of them. But I think that could just lead to that, and then they'll be like, well, let's retaliate against Iran, and then because them being our that country being our ally, we'll feel obligated to sort of like step in and help them. A little bit of both, actually. Like what I mean, I think it could start with Iran attacking a allied U.S. allied Arab country, and I think because of that, maybe some other allied Arab countries could use that as like a justification to capitalize on old grievances with Iran, or like even maybe with another country that's more Iran allied. Well, allied
I mean,
adjacent.
yeah, like Iran is
hear my
also like actively attacking nations that are kind of neutral in retrospect to like Switzerland. Like Iran has bombed Qatar, and not even just like military U.S. military bases in Qatar. They've bombed like conventions of diplomatic meetings about the ongoing conflict in Qatar, killing innocent people who are not actively participating in the war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I just think that like
Yo,
yeah.
chill, yo.
Like yeah, no, I think like this like whole like conflict could help like lead to that in a sense.
Say again.
Sorry. I God, I think that shot made it even worse to keep my train of
Yeah, I mean, my real whole point is like, yeah, I see what you're saying of like people are gonna get pissed off, people are gonna do worse things. I'm also of the mindset of like, I don't really think the Middle East can get worse than it already is. Like the Middle East and North Africa are actively have ongoing bouts of Islamic extremism. They're actively killing civilians in the street for practicing a different faith, for disposing or opposing of the government that they lie under. I mean, this goes back to like the Iranian protesters like thanking the U.S. for bombing Iran and killing the Ayatollah, and then the IRGC went in the streets and they massacred the Iranian civilians. I think there would be overall. I think it would overall be a more stable place. However, like it is that wild card of it being the Middle East. Then again, like before this new regime taking over in Iran in the late 70s, Iran was a very, very, very peaceful place. If you look at images and like just the
well,
history of it, like the kingdom of Persia and the king and everything taking over. Now when you move to this more like Islamic extremism following the scripture, like by the book of the
well,
Quran, which spreads the idea of jihad, killing the non-believer, like gays are evil, like things like that the Iranian regime truthfully believes in and will kill people for opposing.
well, I mean, when like so when like the U.S. backed coup in like I think '53, it
Mhm.
established pro-Western government, but that government was also very oppressive to its people. That part of that like led to the 1979 Iranian Revolution and more of a growing resentment towards Western ideals in like Western countries itself. So I think especially as generations went on, um, and like the younger generations were growing up, they sort of developed a sort of like thought like way of thinking that could be like sort of against the now current Iranian regime,
Mhm.
and they're like trying to sort of like what's the word? What's the word? They're trying to like keep latch on that power and be like, you don't think differently than us. And now it's becoming more and more oppressive, like the previous. Yeah. So I think
Yeah, yeah, like Iran will actively like ban books, ban news, things of that nature that promote Western philosophy, but also like just speak about it in general.
yeah.
Iran is very like
this might be like to the extreme of like Nazi like, where they will suppress media and promote their own opposing media against what they dislike. So like so I also pulled up the statistics of the 2025 to 2026 Iran massacres, and it says the deaths range wildly, but it's anywhere from 6,500 to 36,000.
And it has to do with that. Because let's be real, like no matter what, I think no matter which country you live in, like the younger generation will develop a sort of separate way of thinking than I guess like a current
Yeah.
government. And so,
Usually it's
especially
also
when you look
like
at
more
things,
radical too.
especially when I guess when you look at like around the time of the Iranian Revolution, a lot of people were just like in support of like the new government coming in because the old one was so oppressive, and they're like, all right, no, this is how we think now. This is how things are going to be. And then as decades went on and a newer, younger generation started going up, they're like, well, what about this instead? Maybe maybe that we don't will necessarily support Western ideology, but we should be able to talk about it in a sense. And then okay. Yeah, no, I can agree with that. I agree with that.
But do you not agree that like the mass shootings and massacres on unarmed civilians in Iran are condemnable enough by U.S. foreign intervention?
They're condemnable, yeah, and you can say that it could lead to like us should be able to, I guess, go in and change things. But again, it'll also come down to, I guess, imaging and like how it looks, how we look doing it in a sense. Especially,
Say that
like
again.
for us to intervene in like say China or something. Ooh. Now
I
that,
mean, absolutely. I think it would. I think
but
that
but
it's
that
the
also like
U.S.'s
even then.
responsibility to be that global police force.
But you also got, but even then, country has a China. China, I'd say, has a bigger influence in the world than Iran does. Police against the
No,
biggest.
I don't think that we would effectively be able to police like propaganda or diplomacy wise against China. Um, nor do I want any sort of ground invasion with China because I know it would be disastrous on both sides. However, I think that you do genuinely work from the small man up. I think that you don't walk into prison and you fight the biggest guy because that's how you become someone's bitch and you get raped. You fight somebody that's doing something wrong, you fix that, you correct what's going on, and then you move on to the bigger badder guy.
I think a form of policing that we could do with what China's doing isn't like a direct sort of either military engagement or like embargo, but maybe like influencing some countries that are, I guess, closer to them in a sense, and sort of try to get them to, I guess, more on our side. So it's like we
I
sort of
mean,
like sort
and
of
we
cut them
have
off.
done that a lot. So like Korea, South Korea and Japan,
Oh,
they're
definitely.
very very pro America, like if not arguably more pro America than most American citizens.
We got
um
them. We also got, I guess you could say, what, Taiwan as well.
yeah, like Taiwan being like arguably, like some people say, like the last real China. But China plans to take that back at some point. They say,
Yeah.
they say they're going to take it back no matter what, and whether they do or don't, that's going to be some really big event that happens.
Well, if they do try to do that, then like no doubt, like a United States, either you could say like a
Intervention.
military intervention against China at that point would be considered justified at that, and that's what you'd really want.
Yeah, I mean, in the sense that we're talking about right now, absolutely. I mean, the U.S. has stated like as a government entity in general, has stated multiple times, like we will protect the sovereignty of Taiwan. We respect Taiwan. We uphold Taiwan as like as a real diplomatic nation that can make their own laws, their own decisions. I know Trump has said that he will defend Taiwan militaristically. I'm like 99% sure Biden did, and I'm pretty sure Trump did,
But
or
yeah, well,
Obama
honestly,
did.
I think any president, Democrat or Republican, would actually defend Taiwan because I think that's a more obvious. Yeah,
As well as not even necessarily like a position, but it's also just like a mass, like arguably the most massive morale boost you can get is like growing up as a little Chinese kid in a fucking factory and then joining the military, and your whole life you've been told these Taiwanese people are disgusting, that's the true homeland, they're like they're dissidents of our government, they hate our god, like everything. And then you finally get to take Taiwan over, you're gonna feel like the hottest shit around, you're gonna get to do whatever you want.
whereas and like that would be a bit more. I think that would definitely be justified in the eyes, especially of our allies, because no doubt they will support that. I think with Iran,
Yeah, and such is why we had to defend the Ukraine. Like Russia took Crimea, and Russia went
yeah, it's
fucking
not done.
crazy when they annexed Crimea. And then now they got their foothold in Crimea. They're like, let's just take all of
Yeah, let's just
Russia, and they're still fighting in
take all
Donetsk
the Ukraine.
as we speak. And like, whether you like it or not, if we were not involving in the like supply and logistics of the Russo-Ukraine war, Ukraine would have
Oh
Ukraine
yeah,
would have been mushroom stamped.
oh yeah. I think when it comes to Iran, though, it becomes a little bit more complicated, especially with their control of the Strait of Hormuz. And while we were able to like kill their leadership, they're still able to like resist us, and especially control the Strait of Hormuz and stop trade of oil across the globe. Oh yeah, yeah, and not only that, but with the United States, I guess being viewed as more the aggressor, a lot of times, like a lot of like the blame for that can be lobbied onto the U.S. for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, like, but with the Iran thing, like, they virtually have no naval or air force in their military. I mean,
They still got the ground, I guess, and if they still got like
we
missiles.
physically and like literally kicked the legs off like fucking Seamus the pirate from Family Guy. Like with them being at the Strait of Hormuz, they really can't do anything in harming these ships other than logistically and financially, which they're still actively doing.
Which in the long term will become very much a problem.
Hence why I say we close the problem
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
Yes, I do think it. Define like proper propaganda. I hope you guys heard that. When could be, yeah, especially if we like work with them in a because like if we especially if we work with them because now yes, and like especially with what the current government has done to its own people, it was like, hey, if we come in and we help, uh, this won't be such a problem, and you guys will have basic freedoms that we do here in the Western world. Certainly, that would no doubt inspire the people to like rise up even more and like definitely want to like take over the government and form a new form of government that will not only like I'd say not be as tyrannical because but like with our own influence in there, they'll definitely I guess be more pro US. I know definitely my people got lost. Yeah. I'm not the best at like explaining myself, but It's like I'm not the best at explaining my positions, but like if I can like at least be able to get some sort of understanding of it, like I'm sure you can understand where I'm coming from.
I mean, yeah, I agree in the sense of like propaganda, but like we have been doing that since the 80s, and we have seen slight movement, but then it gets shut down so quickly by the
Yes.
IRGC and the Ayatollah. It like you can put out as much propaganda as you want, but when their government internally suppresses all of it, there's really nothing that you can do. I mean, like
That's
that's it's the whole point of the
but
CIA is to promote pro-American ideals in foreign governments and people.
But I would say like I think you'd want. This sounds so fucked up to say, but I think you would want to utilize them killing their own people to try to get more and more people to resist.
yeah, I mean, if you think about it, overall, in these other countries, it's hard to get a propaganda campaign foothold that's not going to get vetoed by the government of that local like country. You know what I mean? Like it's never gonna fly that easily. But like Logan said, it's literally the job of the CIA is to knock down these totem poles per se of people whose sole purpose is to champion the government of like the local government we are aiming for and attempt to silence any like American ideals and propaganda. Because America, big bad guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like yeah.
It came
I
up
said,
with like if you watch any sort of like CIA fucking debrief shit, it comes up all the time where it's like, oh yeah, we were chasing down this random guy you've never fucking heard of. I wonder why. It's because he's one of these fucking champions that's attempting to, you know, like continue to uphold this idea that America is big bad evil guy, which America is a gray area. But at the end of the day, it needs to happen. You know what I mean?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I would definitely want it to be America. Like as much as I will criticize this country for its faults, I only criticize it because I want it to be better. But at the same time, I understand we do kind of got to do some shit in order to come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, like not even just Iran, but like when you think about Syria with Bashar al-Assad, like
Yeah.
he was gassing his people, he was killing his people in the streets. We destabilized the region. We killed ISIS in the region. We basically reverted their government into what it is now, which is a lot more pro-U.S. I mean, obviously, you still have the insurgency and everything, which are very anti-U.S. But like with foreign aid,
Shut up. Not you, Logan.
okay, yeah, well, like with foreign aid and everything, I feel like it is massive when you
All right, time's up.
nope,
Time's up. Because
nope.
Ben has to leave soon, and you got to be here. Because we're talking about great memories.
Give me 5.
We
give me
said
5.
15 minutes, 30 minutes ago.
Give me 2 minutes.
2 fucking minutes. 2 fucking minutes. From right now. Thank you. I love you. Goodbye.
So no, it has been 15 minutes then. But I guess like let's give Logan like a final like closing statement. Yes.
Yeah,
Now's the
I
time.
mean, I feel like I for the main part agree with statements 2 and 3 from you. What was statement 1 again?
Statement 1. Let's see. My first one was the Iran war will be detrimental to the worldwide image of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, like with that one, like I said, like we already have our own image, and not many people are too forgiving of that image. But
I
then
think
again,
it just
I
will
feel like
make
that
it worse.
that really goes into my stance of 3 is like we are the world police. People aren't necessarily aren't going to be in favor of the world police
Oh, yeah.
intervening into their own domestic politics and products.
I guess my current argument to that would be let's try not to make it worse in a sense. We don't want to make it worse.
How do you
That's the
feel
premise.
overall about my claims?
For the most part, I would say with your claims, we like agree, but we disagree on like I guess
we agree on the claim itself, but not the
Yeah,
the measure
but,
to
like,
take action for it.
yes. Yeah, which I think that's actually like, I guess, the U.S. politics, how Democrats and Republicans have always operated. It's like we all agree on like one thing, but how we get about doing it has been drastically different.
Does anybody from the crowd have any statements?
Nah.
I do remember getting claims. I guess really
Hormuz
what
molestable.
my thesis is like, it's starting out, I guess, small with like our NATO allies and all that, just like sort of turning their backs on supporting us. But I feel like in the long term, like that could be like this could be like a sort of build to like any future things that they don't agree with. I think it, yeah. Well, yeah, that is true. But I think that itself could build in the future if there's more things, I guess, like this happen.
Before before I get raped by Lexi, Mr. Moderator, what's your overall opinions on the debate? Do you have a winner? Do you have any like really shitty points that you want to put out, or really good points?
I guess mainly for the first one. Yeah. I guess so, yeah. I'm not really a big I've never really like debated.
I think that this is something we should do more often. I think
Okay.
the,
This
it
was very
it
this was very productive.
it was
I did
really
enjoy it.
civil today, which was not what I was expecting, and it turned out really
Yeah.
well.
Oh yeah. I very much
I
enjoyed
also
this.
think this would like stop people from getting called like retarded or like a Rick and Morty bong chungus like Donnie if we could actually like no, like in general, like I feel like it
What
would
is they
stop
from
us
you
from like
for?
no, literally no, but I feel like it would stop us from like shitting on each other as much as if we could just hear each other's takes out.
Especially since like the past 10, we'll say the past 10 years, it's been like a large just like division of people, and then just pointing at the other side, be like, you guys are fucking retarded, instead of trying to like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I also feel like we both did pretty good with our research and like preparing for the event.
Logan,
And like it's especially the moderation. I very much appreciated the moderation wasn't one sided at all. Whether
I
it was
also liked
towards
everybody
Logan or
like
towards me.
respectfully muting and like shutting up in the background and like
Oh,
letting us talk.
100% too. That was really great.
oh shit.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
was
because
trying
I
to
didn't
just be
realize that
on
I
mute.
I thought you kicked them.
Oh.
That's why I started giggling. All right, but I'm gonna hang out with Lexi and our friends for a little bit, but I will be back in VC probably before midnight
All
to
right.
Yo,
Well, I'm
do
Logan,
looking
like
forward to it.
closings
I
or
love you,
anything.
man. This was great.
Logan.
This was great.
That's
I very
fun.
much appreciate it, Logan.
That's about half an hour per point, which I feel like is really
Oh,
fair.
that dude, right? I thought this was going to go on for much longer too.
An hour per like aggregated point, but half an hour
Oh,
per
yeah.
like each take.
Nice.
Damn. Bro,
Might as well,
let's
yeah.
let's post it, bro.
definitely got to go
Monk
piss. too.
Monk debate central.
Post this
Just
before
chop
this.
it up
So
and
leave that in.
capture
Leave this in.
first.
All right. I got to
All
go
right,
take
that
a piss.
I'll be back though.
I got pissed.
Sick.
All right.
Great job.